Hey guys, it's Sherry here. Now, you've heard me say that one of the most favorite parts of my job is meeting people who are leading organizations that do, I would say, like the widest variety of things. And so missions that go from A to Z. And today we're talking to Emily Norton at the Charles River Watershed Association. And this is a technical one. And what I mean is, I got to learn all about science and river science and advocacy and stormwater something and invasive species and all the things. But honestly, that's the best part of my job, learning what's going on in the world and learning things that maybe I would never have known were going on. And so especially this last year as the East Coast was experiencing so much drought, just being educated on how that was impacting the lives and communities and cities. And so I'm excited for you to meet Emily today, who's been leading the organization since 2018. And Emily is, I always read people's bios before I hop on my podcast, even though I worked with Emily for almost a full year now. She's fancy. She's got some fancy things behind her name. And so she's going to share a little bit about what she's been doing, but she's a go-getter. Emily's my client who I say, we should think about sending an email, and she's typing. She's typing already. There's no time like the present with her. So Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Sherry, it is so great to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
You bet, you bet. Now, you're not a stranger to all the fundraising things, right? And I would say also like the relationship building with the lobbying and the city council work and just everything you have going on. Talk to me a little bit about, maybe when we spoke first and, you were doing all the things, but yet it was like, but hold on, there's something missing, or kind of talk to me about your background and how you've gotten into this, and then and what you were looking for the first time we talked.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I have been in politics and environmental policy advocacy work basically my whole career. And I worked in Washington, D.C. for a sort of centrist Democrat group, raising money for them. I worked on political campaigns for other people and myself, raising money. But I didn't have a whole lot of training in it. So a lot of it was just sort of common sense, watching the people around me. How did they do it? But there was a bit of winging it, which had gotten me so far.
Yeah.
But I realized here, especially when I was selling an organization that is sort of sciencey and engineering, that I just could tell I needed help to get us to that next level, to really be raising the money that we needed to be raising so that we could hire the people we needed to be hired and just do the work that the world calls for right now. I knew that I needed more help. And so I'm confident about the things I'm good at. I'm confident about the things that I'm not good at, that I know when I need to get help. And just in our early conversations, as I was weighing, who would help us with that, I just really felt like, wow, she has a vision and I want to be part of that and know what she knows. And, you gave me a confidence to sign up with you, and I don't regret it. It's been great.
Thank you. Now, Emily, I've had some executive directors that I've coached, and then they've gone into political fundraising. And then I get the call of like, this is similar but different. Do you find the same thing just with your background?
Yeah, there's a built-in urgency with political campaigns, and people, I think, understand it better. You do have to say, I need to raise the money I've never been at the level of doing TV ads or whatever, but they do understand that, lawn signs and staff and whatever. Here, it's a little more challenging, and there's no built-in an election coming up,
right?
That you're raising money around. So that is a little bit more challenging. But it's all sales, whether you're selling a candidate, selling yourself, selling an organization. It's sales and making that connection and really making it vivid and urgent for people.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so you took the reins of this organization in 2018, but from a very long time ED, which always, it's opportunities and challenges, right? And I also feel like when we met, you guys had done all this, I'm going to call it infrastructure work, all the systems, all the business behind the fundraising type of work. which like you said, kind of gets you so far. But then it's like, well, now what's next? Um, you could tell your team was leaving money on the table, right?
Yeah, very much. So we're fortunate in that the geographic area that the Charles River watershed lies within is a relatively wealthy area, and
Mm-hmm.
people in this area love the Charles River very much. So, and having grown up in this area, in fact, I live in the house I grew up in, I
Mm-hmm.
knew this deep in my soul, and yet when I saw how much funding we were getting from various individuals or areas of the watershed, I just thought, I know we can be doing better. I'm very fortunate in that my predecessor had started an endowment campaign, so we had some cushion. But even with that, our operating was not, there wasn't much cushion there because there's
Yeah.
rules around endowment campaigns. You can't just tap them. So, so this really came to the fore and sort of was obvious when out of the blue, we got a $50,000 ExxonMobil stock gift, which was wonderful, but it wasn't someone we'd had any contact with. It wasn't someone we'd been cultivating. It wasn't part of the plan. So I thought, geez, imagine if this just falls on us. Imagine if we were actually had a plan that we were implementing and meeting with people and so forth. So, and we just, I think there was part of sort of, and I don't think it's just us, but there is this sort of starvation mindset in nonprofits where, I don't think I can hire more people in the fundraising because, we'd have to pay this and I don't know. Where it's like, if you were a business, if you really think boldly, and that's a huge part of the benefit that you've provided to me and to us is to giving us that license to think boldly. Of course you invest in fundraising so that you can bring in more money. Of course you would do that. But we needed that help from you to give us the confidence to do that.
It was right under the surface. It didn't take much convincing when you were like, let's increase the budget.
Yeah. Thanks to our work with you. I mean, we had put together a strategic plan that showed aggressive growth of like from 1.5 to 1.7 over 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Really? And you came in, you were like, gonna be honest with you, Emily, to show a really investment level donor that your big growth plans are $200,000 over 5 years, that's actually not that impressive. So not only was it not that great for our organization, it wasn't even that great for our fundraising goals to be saying that. And I was like, she's right. That makes so much sense. Why don't we think big and then actually put into practice the things that'll allow us to get there?
Yeah, I think that's the like trust and faith element of the work, because I remember us having some conversations with your staff and saying, yeah, but hold on a second, we've only ever grown maybe 10%. Like historically, that's just kind of what it's been, and it's been great. You guys have been growing, but like, oh my gosh, that's scary to think, which I might add, you raised the budget 40% this last year. And to say, you know what, we're going to trust that we're doing things different now, and that we are seeding the donors and leading them in a stronger cadence, and that those results are going to be there in 12 to 18 months because we've stopped doing certain things and we started doing other things. And I always tell leaders, boards, if you can believe that and do different things, you will change and you will raise more money. Of course, we wouldn't ever raise a budget by 40% if we just keep doing the same old.
Right.
So it's really, that's the faith part of it.
Right. Yeah. There's the faith and then the actual tools. So before it was like go into a donor meeting and kind of wing it. That's honestly, and that wasn't terrible. It was getting us so far. Right. But now, after working with you and actually having a presentation that is professional, that we've gotten rid of the jargon. I mean, we are very sciencey and engineering, but we don't have to use that type of language when we're speaking with people. And show them our financials, show them our need, show them our plan for growth, and do it with confidence. Well, that's fun and exciting. People want to give. It's funny. It's sort of the opposite. You think, we're going to have crappy offices and we're going to pay people hardly anything and our benefits are going to be terrible. So we show that we're not wasting their money. No, the more you show you're raising, more people want to raise because they're like, oh, that's the winning team. That's the train that's leaving the station that I want to be a part of. So you got to show with your confidence and sort of, I think intellectually I knew this, but working with you, it's like, gave us the confidence to actually do it.
Yeah. Well, the whole sector tells you to do it the other way is why. I just hear that. So we've been conditioned to say, well, that's how businesses do it, but that, we should be doing more on less, which, I think with the tone today, neither one of us buy that because that's not how you grow an organization.
Right.
Has that been do you feel like the staff and the board kind of embrace that, that shift with you, or have you had to kind of chart out this new territory by yourself?
Oh, I think the staff are super excited. I think they trust because they see that we are raising more money and
Yeah.
hiring more people and actually being able to support them in the ways that we should have been all along, but we weren't. Not uncommon among nonprofits, but there's no reason that we shouldn't be providing a livable wage and excellent benefits and computers that work and things like
Right.
that. And then on the board side, I think the proof is in the pudding that they took a vote and approved a much, as you point out, a 40% bigger budget for this fiscal year. And it helps that we do have a large endowment that, worst comes to worst and we need more runway, that we're in good shape to be able to do that. And the board historically hasn't played a major role in fundraising. So that is something that we are still working on and giving them sort of taking baby steps. Like, you don't have to make an ask. Sometimes all we're asking is that you call a donor and thank them for donating. Like, it's really can be fun. Just talk to us about one or two people at a company or at this foundation or in your social circle. So really trying to demystify it, make it less intimidating. And, your training in that has been invaluable.
So glad, so glad. I think part of the what I'd love to hear from you is, as you've been having these, I would say, more, I don't know, telling more of the financial story and the true need of the organization to donors. What are you finding? Are people surprised by your budget? Surprised that, that you have so much charitable giving? I always say, like, people aren't always giving their best gift because they're like, oh, I didn't know you needed more money, or I didn't know you were that big or that small, or don't my tax dollars do this?
100%.
How has that been really opening the
People
eyes of
think
your donors?
government grants, or
Yeah.
people don't think about it at all, I think. So being able to
Mhm.
show them the pie chart and how important individuals are in our revenue, and showing them even what we do. So we do a lot of different things that people weren't aware of. We met with one couple that row on the river, love the river, etc. They thought all we did was this one flagging program where we put up red flags when it's not safe, blue flags when it is safe to row, because of the various pollution discharges that are still happening that we're working on. They didn't know, I don't want to go into it, but all these other things they were doing, they're like, oh, so they were giving us a few hundred a year, a few $100s, because they thought that's all we did. Well, once they saw everything else that we're doing, that's when we found out they have a foundation that gives $10,000 to $50,000 a year in multi-year gifts. Like, wow, that's important information. And they've been giving to us for 2 decades.
Wow.
And we just had not taken the time to sit down with them, walk through what we do, connect it with their interest and love of the river. So, I mean, it seems, even talking to you, it's like, wow, this is embarrassing. I'm telling the world that this is what we're doing, but whatever, here we are now, and we are doing a much better job of reaching out and sitting down with people and talking to them about our work and our need and their vital role in that. And it's so far, we're having good results.
Good. I think, like, it's counterintuitive. Like, part of my work is always helping people slow down a little bit, which doesn't feel good at first, where it's like, well, can't we just email them, and can't we just go and meet with them and ask them for this, or we'll just send that appeal and put a little note in it and say, can you give $50K again? Part of it is slowing down and saying, we need to take the time to go talk to that couple and not ask them that first meeting, and really lead them to deep understanding on actually what we're doing, and see where their other interests are, and educate them. And that sometimes is scary, but that's part of the process. And that's how you can feel confident having a 40% budget increase versus just that squeak by that maybe you've done in the past.
Right. Just like everything, I suppose, this is personal relationships. And how do you feel about that person that every time they see you, they're asking for something?
Yes.
Like, they're annoying. Whereas if you're actually having a friendship with them, or, a colleagueship, however, where you're talking about the work and this happened and this happened, and no, what are you going to do about this? And just having a conversation with people, treating them more respectfully, then they're going to want to give, because you're on the same side of the table. You both want to, in this case, clean up the Charles River.
Right. So good. So you mentioned the confidence piece of, I guess, me kind of helping. You're confident. I didn't give you confidence, but it's like confidence in what should be happening maybe at that table, what we should or should not be presenting or saying. What other tangible things do you feel like came out of our work that maybe surprised you? Or maybe you were like, oh, that's an extra little something that's been helpful.
The gift chart, the way you do gift charts is not the way I'd seen it done before. And I like that. Well, there's a few things, and they're kind of matched. So we've been doing a gala every single year, or gala, however you pronounce it.
However fancy you are today.
It should be gala. But anyway, and as you pointed out rightly, when you have a top sponsorship level of X, then that's the most you're going to get out of people. That's going to be their best gift, because that's all you're asking them for. Whereas when you're having conversations throughout the year and you treat your big event as a cultivation, thank you, etc., set aside the sponsorship stuff, have that conversation another time when it's, you've really planned it out, then maybe that top level will turn out that it wasn't their best gift. Yeah. And having a gift chart that gives them choices. Oh, we'd really love you to think about, consider being our top 3, being our top 10. Well, that's like, ooh, maybe I would like to be the top 3. That sounds fun and exciting. And oh, that's the levels they're at. And then as the donor, I get to really think about that. Mm-hmm. Not ask for this amount that might be lower than I would have considered. So I really like having that. It gives, I think it's like more respectful actually of the donor, and gives them agency on what they're comfortable with. They see our need because we've put the little slots there that we're looking to fill up, but they get to choose. So that's a specific thing that I really appreciate and that we are employing.
Good. Yeah, we have to. Any tool that helps us not decide what that donor's best gift is critical. The other part that I'll bring up is. My listeners know that I refer Erin Straza all the time from a writing perspective. She's really been helping you with your case for support and taking that technical, sciencey, I don't want to say out, but putting it in the words and in a way that we can speak to our donors where they understand what we do, and they kind of like that lens of what might be irrelevant that's internal and really important, but what do our donors need to hear? Could you talk a little bit about the messaging work and just how that has shifted for you?
Yeah, there's sort of 2 levels, and you started it out with us, and then Erin has really helped us put it into practice, but the to versus through. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our verbiage was give to CRWA. CRWA did this, CRWA did that, which is all true. We're doing great work, and we've done great work for many years. But it's really a lot more accessible and even respectful, arguably, to say you're giving to the Charles River. You're giving to cleaning up the Charles River. You're giving to removing invasives from the Charles River through CRWA. So when you all pointed that out to us, and then Erin actually helped us going through our website and our materials and our emails and our newsletters and everything to sort of make our language much more accessible. What's interesting is it's not just more accessible for donors, it's really more accessible for everyone, the public, folks we lobby, anyone in our community. If our language is much more about how we're doing all of these things. Yes, we're the staff doing, X, Y, and Z, but your support, your volunteering, your engagement with us is really what's allowing all this to be possible. That's been really huge. And then, yes, having Erin, and I'm not a science person. I was a philosophy major. So the fact that even I was, after a few years working here, still kind of getting wrapped up in that jargony stuff just shows how hard it is once you're in it to see it from a fresh perspective. So Erin's been just vital with helping us just make our language more accessible and asking, like, is this what this means? Is that what this means? And so that's been an incredible help. As well as, she's been really super helpful in a lot of ways. This morning, our session was going over our whole process for thanking people.
Mm.
It can be, and it is now so much more than just a thank you email or a thank you letter once a year or whenever that gift comes in. There's so much more that we can and now are doing to show our supporters at every level how appreciated they are. It does make sense now that I think about it logically that you would treat a $50 donor differently than a $50,000 donor, but we weren't actually treating them all that differently. So again, seems obvious after the fact, but we did need this help to really look at the way we've been doing things and change it up and make it better.
Yeah, that's the segmentation, and it takes time. It just takes time, and you've been staffing up and that kind of thing too. But
it does take time and it takes staff, and so then you need the permission to hire that staff and to make that investment and confidence that it's going to pay off. Yeah,
so good, so good. Emily, where can people find you if they want to learn more about the work that you're doing there in Boston?
Yeah, Charles River Watershed Association is at crwa.org. Would love to hear from anyone who would love to get involved with us.
Awesome. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sherry, for all your work all year.
I've loved every minute.